Okay, so when you think of the Shikoku Pilgrimage, what comes to mind? It's probably those classic images, right? The pilgrims in their white robes, the conical hats, winding their way through these beautiful, ancient Japanese landscapes. It's got to be one of the most famous spiritual journeys on the planet.
And the story that usually goes with those images is this epic, mystical quest, a kind of spiritual marathon, right? You visit 88 sacred temples, all in the hopes of achieving some grand enlightenment or maybe getting some kind of blessing from the great master, Kūkai.
But what if that whole romantic idea completely misses the point? What if the real magic of the pilgrimage isn't what we think it is? The source we're digging into today, well, it argues for a complete rethinking of what this journey actually is, and more importantly, what it does to you.
So get this. Instead of some epic quest, our source calls it a walking-based, non-manipulative, safety-oriented Buddhist practice. Now I know, that sounds a little dry, maybe a bit academic, but trust me, every single one of those words is packed with meaning, and they are absolutely crucial. So let's break that down. All right, first things first. We've got to tear down some of the popular myths that have been built up around this pilgrimage.
This chart really lays it all out. On the one hand, you have the popular view that most of us know. It's a religious ritual, a big quest for a goal, and it was all designed by this one guy, Kūkai. But look at the other side. The source we're following says, no, it's not a ritual, it's a life practice. It's not a quest for a goal. The walking is the practice. And it wasn't designed by Kūkai. It's a cultural system that's been tweaked and perfected over centuries. And that reframing brings us right to the absolute heart of this whole idea. The practice isn't about getting to temple number 88. The practice is just the walking. And let's just take a second to absorb the sheer scale of this thing. We're talking about walking 1,200 kilometers. That's, what, about 750 miles? Just let that sink in.
And if you're walking that distance, at a normal human pace, it's going to take you around 60 days. 2 full months.
And this is so important to get. This isn't some weekend spiritual workshop. For 2 whole months, your entire life is stripped down to this simple rhythm. Walk, eat, sleep, repeat. That's it. And that length of time, that's the secret sauce. It's what makes the whole thing work.
Okay, and here's where the genius of just walking really shines. Think about other practices, like seated meditation. They can be powerful for sure, but our source points out they can have some risks, right? You can get totally lost in your own head, absorbed in your thoughts, or even feel disconnected from reality. But long-distance walking, it's like it's structurally safe by design. It forces you to stay awake and connected to the world around you. You're grounded by that steady physical rhythm. The system itself kind of regulates you without you even having to try.
Which brings us to one of the most famous phrases you'll hear on the pilgrimage. And the way our source reinterprets it is, well, it's brilliant.
The phrase Dōgyō Ninin. You see it everywhere out there, on signs, on the pilgrim's staff. Literally, it means two walking together. And for centuries, the interpretation has been that you, the pilgrim, are walking with the spirit of the great master Kūkai as your guide.
But here's the twist. Our source argues that its real function isn't spiritual at all. It's structural. It's not about a divine helper saving you. It's an incredible psychological support system. Think about it. It reduces that deep existential loneliness of walking by yourself for 2 months, and it totally takes away the pressure to win or fail at the pilgrimage. The source has this amazing line that just nails it. You are walking alone, but not bearing the entire burden alone. I mean, how perfect is that? You still have to take every single step yourself. Nobody's doing it for you. But the system is set up so you don't feel completely crushed by the weight of it all. That is a huge shift in thinking.
Okay, so if Kūkai didn't invent this whole 88 temple system, then where did it come from? Well, according to this analysis, we need to look way, way further back, all the way back to the Buddha himself.
And this is such a fascinating comparison. The Buddha's original way of life, he was a wanderer. He didn't have a home base, no fixed temple. The constant movement, the walking, that was his practice. It was completely woven into his daily life. That's a world away from the big, stationary monasteries that came later. So the Shikoku Pilgrimage, with all its walking, it's actually a kind of living fossil. It's an echo of that very first wandering style of Buddhism. And that just completely changes how we see Kūkai, doesn't it? He wasn't the grand architect of the 88 temple route. He was more like an early, super influential practitioner of this walking-based, embodied form of Buddhism. The pilgrimage, as we know it today, it's like the perfected, culturally tuned version of the principles that he lived out. Which leads us to our final and maybe the most important point.
Why does this system work so well? Why is it so incredibly safe and robust that it's lasted for hundreds and hundreds of years?
It's because the safety is baked right into the design. The constant physical work, that keeps you grounded in reality. Being constantly engaged with the world around you, the weather, the road, it stops you from just disappearing into your own head. And those simple real-world problems like, where am I going to sleep tonight? Or what am I going to eat? They give you all the structure you need. And here's the kicker. It works no matter who you are. You don't need some special talent or a deep, unwavering belief or any kind of mental superpower.
So that brings up a really wild question. If you don't need any special mental state, could you get the same benefit even if you just walked it mindlessly without even trying to be spiritual?
And the answer our source gives is a powerful and kind of shocking yes. The system is actually designed for that. You don't have to force yourself to have some big spiritual breakthrough. You don't have to try to do anything. The simple, physical, repetitive act of walking for 2 months, that is what does the work. It's what gently brings your whole nervous system back to a calmer, more natural state. The walking itself does the heavy lifting.
And that leaves us with this beautiful, profound idea that just ties everything together. The Buddha walks beside you but does not intervene. See, it's not about some godlike figure swooping in to solve all your problems. It's about a supportive system, a quiet presence that's just there. It allows you to walk your own path, to find your own balance, all by simply putting one foot in front of the other.